Welcome back. A leftover part of a rocket launch last year has crashed into the moon just as astronomers predicted.
The Falcon 9 upper stage was left drifting in space after carrying two lunar landers en route to the moon. It was never meant to hit the lunar surface, but its path eventually brought it back on a collision course.
Telescope in Chile detected what astronomers believe is the debris from the impact. The scientists are confident the collision took place, though it will only be confirmed when orbiters are able to capture images of the crash site.
The impact is believed to have occurred near the Einstein crater on the moon's far northern surface. The 4-ton cylindrical rocket structure was predicted to slam into the lunar surface at 8,700 kilometers per hour. Researchers estimate it may have created a crater nearly 30 meters wide, sending plumes of dust up to 100 kilometers into the lunar environment.
Yeah, the incident has renewed concerns over lunar litter, a problem that could grow as the U.S. and China race to establish bases on the moon. A Chinese rocket stage also unintentionally hit the lunar surface back in 2022, while scientists believe other pieces of space hardware have crashed there over past decades. SpaceX says it's working with NASA to avoid future wreckages on the moon, stressing that the crash was caused by gravity and solar activity. We're joined by Brett Tucker, astrophysicist and cosmologist at the ANU Research School of Astronomy and Astrophysics. Professor, great to have you again. So scientists seems like almost certain it had collided with the moon, but formal visual confirmation, I believe, is still pending. Why does it take time to confirm an impact like this, and what are they looking for?
Yeah, so it's a great question because, you're just showing the elements from that telescope in Chile that detected it. That's a 8-meter telescope, one of the largest in the world, and it only detected this little plume. As big of the impact as it is, the reality is the moon is so far away, most telescopes on Earth can't resolve that detail, given also how bright the moon is. It's weird because you have a lot of brightness from the moon, so it's hard to contrast this little event. So as you said, we're waiting for the orbiters to take the image. Now, the problem is the orbiters have their own planned route and orbit around the moon. So not necessarily were they scheduled to be over the spot. So they have to wait until their kind of next natural pass, like satellites on Earth, over the area to get that visual confirmation. But these plumes on the screen really are pretty direct, showing that both lithium and sodium, so this is composition from the moon's soil as well as from the rocket booster itself, breaking apart, creating this debris cloud 70, 80 kilometers wide above the surface.
So, Prof. Tucker, so once they find the crater, I'm trying to understand how exactly will researchers, and I hear they're very excited, how will they be conducting their studies? Is it all going to be long range, on massive high-powered telescopes you were just describing, the one in Chile? Is it the orbiters? Or are they actually also going to use moon rovers and whatever robots on the moon right now, that they can send to the crater?
So that's a great question. So for the rovers, we don't really have anyone or anything near the crater that we can use that close. That may be in the future, that may change. However, it's not one of the main spots that NASA or China or others are looking at. So we're really going to be using the orbiters. That's going to be the big thing. Now, most of these orbiters have a variety of cameras and instruments to measure composition, temperature, a lot of other properties of both the lunar surface and now this crater. And the whole key is this new crater has exposed fresh soil, if you want to think about it that way, no different than digging in the ground here. The stuff on the surface is weathered and exposed to the environment, in this case, the space environment. By that new crater, you have unexposed or at least unweathered soil that can be studied. So we're going to be really using those for the foreseeable future to kind of get as much data as we can on this event.
And so very quickly, Prof, just want to confirm it's open to all, free for all. Anyone with a telescope can actually study the crater as long as they want.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Everyone can see it. It's luckily at least on the side of the Earth that faces, or the side of the moon that faces the Earth. So anyone who has equipment will be wanting to study this and see just what happened after it.
And very quickly, I'm trying to understand, why does it matter to me, what lunar dust or moon sand or moon dirt whatever it's called. I believe there's a name. Why is that important to me? Or maybe it's not important to me, important for my grandchildren.
Yeah, so look, the lunar regolith, yeah, that's the weird term we have for the moon dirt. It's really it's about the future of going to it. And as you're saying, Julia, before, we're seeing this race with the US and China going to the moon. A lot of this is the composition of resources. And we are going to see a massive increase of activity, not just on the moon, but further off into space. And this includes people talking about deploying data centers and AI going into space. All of this is going to be done if there's enough stuff, essentially, in particular water, to be used on the moon for operation. So the future of space is not just the few astronauts or whoever may actually go to the surface, but how the moon becomes more strategically important in terms of operation, not just in space, but then affecting us on Earth. And we're already starting to see that happen. And over the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to see a big increase in that.
Yeah, speaking of the future of the moon, I mean, the planet may be uninhabited today, but with plans for a permanent lunar basis in the next decade or so, how does an incident like this change the conversation around safety and protecting the moon? And who do you think should take responsibility for, damages?
Yeah, it's a great question because we have a lot of regulation and control sending stuff up. But the conversation and then the rules stop, and they stop kind of after. Then what do you do from there? This whole incident is kind of an accident. They were planning on the second stage coming back down to Earth, but they miscalculated both how much the gravitational effect of the moon would have, as well as solar storms. And solar storms, we get these wind from the sun, they blow on the Earth and produce things like the aurora, but they affect our spacecraft. And this is, we have seen issues from, say, space weather happening during this current activity of the sun. In 10, 11 years' time, when we have the next phase of solar activity, because it's an 11-year cycle, and we have a lot more infrastructure around the Earth and around the moon, we can expect these problems to happen. So you're exactly right. We need to start planning to say, everything that can happen may happen in space. So for the longest time, we just kind of said, well, it's not going to happen. We should be okay. It clearly is happening. So we need a lot more, more than just companies trying to do the right thing or governments trying to do the right thing, enforcing legislation from both the UN and the national bodies that govern these groups to say, it is more than just going up there. You have to be responsible for the whole path. And countries have done this. So groups like Japan, Europe, and Australia have been pretty on the forefront of legislating the return or the disposal of objects. Many other countries haven't. And so we need more of that stewardship for the Earth and the moon going forward.
Absolutely. And Professor, is there technology today or perhaps being developed now that could safely dispose them before they become uncontrolled objects? And if so, how close are they to becoming practical solutions?
Yeah, look, and I think this is the thing. There's a lot of groups working on this. In fact, Northrop Grumman and SpaceX just launched a satellite last week that will have a robot arm. It's essentially like a space tow truck that will go and fix another satellite. It also has spare fuel to go and fuel up other satellites. One of the big problems is these things run out of fuel, so we can't control them. So mobile petrol stations, if you'd like, actually go a long way of trying to reduce these issues. This technology is already being deployed and augmented. There are groups trying to recycle components in space or deliberately bring things down. So this is something where there's a lot of countries investing money and effort to solve this problem. It makes it more economical, but obviously more environmentally friendly as well. So we have to find, I think, the right cost point of doing the right thing, the enforcement or legislation to say we do the right thing, and now that technology which is coming online. And I will see a lot more of this in the coming decade as groups try to solve this problem. The one benefit or shining light from all of this is the problem affects everyone equally, at least country-wise. So you can't just say it's an American problem or a Chinese problem or a European problem. Everyone is affected equally, so everyone has a play in it.
Prof, we have a minute left. Am I right to say then that, because, to say that the moon doesn't have the same kind of protection that the Earth has from the atmosphere, which makes this problem even more salient if we want to live on the moon?
Exactly, right. So the Earth's atmosphere, when we have junk re-entering, slows it down, breaks it up, limits those impacts, and then we have the oceans where it often lands. This is the issue, as you said, there's no, or essentially no atmosphere, so it doesn't enter and slow down at 8,000 kilometers. It just continues for about 8,000 kilometers until it hits the surface, and that's going to be a problem going forward, and why it's a bigger issue to solve from the moon to some degree rather than the Earth.
Right, Professor Tucker, always great to have you. Thank you very much for your insight this morning. Brett Tucker, astrophysicist and cosmologist at the ANU Research School of Astronomy and Astrophysics.